I mentioned Shawn Michaels appearing on night one of the UK special. Michaels was in the news this week. And by the way, if you want to hear an awesome cover version of Shawn Michaels' theme song, go to Spotify. Look up Sexy Boy by a group called It Lives, It Breathes. I just heard it for the first time the other day. It came up randomly in like a wrestling playlist. And it's really good. It is really good. But anyway, Michaels gave an interview to Sky Sports to promote the UK tournament. He was asked about an in-ring return. Now, he gets asked a lot about this. His answer has always been pretty consistent that, back in my day, I would love to wrestle XYZ, but I'm done. I'm enjoying retirement. And, he makes comments like that. And there have been reports of offers that have been made to him, supposedly over the years, for him to come back. And even if offers haven't formally been made, there have been at least 3 or 4 different opportunities, storyline-wise, where it would have been perfect for Shawn to come back for one last big match, and he never does. He just seems content to be retired, and enough time has gone by where you start thinking, hey, he may go down as one of the few big stars who actually retired when he wanted to and stayed retired. It's been over 8 years since that WrestleMania match with The Undertaker. He's been pitched supposedly multiple scenarios, and like I said, he hasn't bit. You had the, if you remember, they teased us with him and Daniel Bryan a few years ago when he super kicked Bryan and Bryan put him in the yes lock on TV, and it was like, wow, maybe they're fixing for a Daniel Bryan Shawn Michaels match, and Shawn had a hand in training him. What a great match it would be. Never happened. You had the Photoshop poster of Michaels against AJ Styles and the rumors of that match for the Royal Rumble at the Alamo Dome, which I'm convinced was my fault because I pitched that scenario on this podcast, I think before anybody else did. And it was like right after that, there was a Facebook page, I think, that took what I said and dressed it up as, news and rumor and not opinion, which is wont to happen. It's not the first time, nor will that be the last time that somebody does that. Taking something I said here and kind of putting it out there as a piece of news when it really isn't. But it happened, and all of a sudden, AJ Styles is being asked in interviews about the rumors of a match at Royal Rumble with him and Shawn Michaels. And anyway, if Shawn wanted to come back, he could have. If it was about money, then he would have done it a long time ago because there's plenty of money for him to make, supposedly there was an offer made for the Greatest Royal Rumble, a big money offer, and obviously he didn't bite on that either. So this is what happened this week, though. That's the reason I bring all of this up. What sort of changed this week was the tone of one of his answers. He was asked this question in this Sky Sports interview, and this is the answer he gave. He said, I've been retired for 8 years now, and when it got to the 5-year mark, I thought people would start asking me, but they just kind of stopped. I think it's one of those you would never say never about things, and if it was just for a one-off, then it's something I would take a look at. Well, isn't that quite the change from what he has said previously? You would think that if this guy was sick and tired of people asking him the question, he wouldn't be stoking the fires like this. So that was, an answer that caught a lot of people's attention, myself included. Now, I think if he really does have an interest in possibly coming back, I think it probably has more to do with him working at the Performance Center, and he's on the road as an agent now for a lot of those NXT live events. I think it probably has a lot more to do with that than it does with money. He's around it again. Maybe he's getting the itch. And look, if it was just about money, again, he would have come back years ago. Unless he's made some bad investments again, like he did when he had to become JBL's slave. I don't think it's just a money thing. But anyway, he says it would have to be done the right way and just for one match rather than something that ran for longer. It could be possible, but people would have to accept that they would not be getting the showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania, and that I am 52 years old now. He admits the most likely scenario for a return would be in a tag team match with Triple H, possibly doing a DX reunion and getting a few crotch chops in, which, excuse me for a moment while I gag, what a waste that would be. What a waste that would be for Shawn Michaels to come back after 8 or 9 years, only for another lame DX reunion. I'd rather he stay retired if that's all he's going to do. Now, he did float names in the interview like AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, Johnny Gargano, as guys that he would have loved to have gotten in there with in his prime one-on-one. If you ask me, is Shawn Michaels coming back? The answer is no. Shawn Michaels is not coming back. it's interesting to read that and get excited about the possibilities and say, oh, what would a match with him and so be like? It's fun. It could be fun to sort of fantasy book things like that. But I think that's, at the end of the day, I think that's all it is. I don't believe he's coming back. I think this is all pie in the sky. But again, it's fun to think about. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in a year, we'll look back on this clip and on this video or podcast or wherever this ends up, and you could tell me how wrong I was. And it's honestly, it's a scenario where I kind of hope I am wrong, because Styles and Bryan are two names I would love to see in there with Shawn Michaels, absolutely. But the name that I think would work best one-on-one is someone who Shawn said just last year would be his dream opponent in WWE. And it was not AJ Styles. That man is Samoa Joe. Shawn told ESPN at that time, I see his stuff at NXT. Obviously, Joe was still in NXT at the time. I see his stuff at NXT and I think to myself, man, I could have had a great deal of fun with you. Forget the sexual imagery there, because that's just horrifying. I would love to see that match too. Joe is more of a brawler. I thought Shawn Michaels always worked well with brawlers and guys who were bigger than him most of the time. I mean, you can only do so much if you're in there in 1995 with King Kong Bundy. I don't know that anybody could have gotten a good match at a King Kong Bundy in 1995. But I've seen Shawn Michaels in there with guys like Sid and Diesel and Mankind and guys that were not at all his style that he ended up having fantastic matches with. Well, maybe not fantastic with Sid, but I do think their Survivor Series 96 match at the Garden, where Shawn lost, was actually pretty good. So Joe kind of fits that mold a little bit more. He is bigger than Shawn. He is more of a brawler. Plus, I think the promos leading up to that match would be top-notch. Joe is the best talker, maybe in the world, when it comes to wrestling. He's the best talker in the company right now. Shawn can hold his own. Joe, I think, would be the perfect opponent for Shawn Michaels. As a one-off, with the right opponent, he still looks like he's keeping in great shape. It would be great to see. But for him to come back just to do a tag team match, look, he could do what he wants, whatever makes the guy happy. He's earned that. If he wants to come back at 52 or 53 to point to his crotch and throw glow sticks, that's his call. But I would just as soon remember his last match as being something a little more serious than that.